Hello, today we're going to be going over some hotkeys, some shortcuts within Logic Pro X. These can really make your workflow efficient, especially when you're on tight deadlines in the film and media industry. You really want to get these hotkeys and shortcuts down, because if you don't, it's going to slow you down drastically. You really need to streamline your workflow. Everything I have in my studio, the reason why I have my keyboard here, my faders there, even the way I've set up my desk, is to make things quick and efficient so I can get the most out of my time, because time is money, and if I can get the same thing done in 30 minutes compared to an hour, I'm still going to be getting the same amount of money. Yeah, you can charge by the hour. Generally, I'll price out a project, but talking about money and finances and pricing jobs, that's a whole different video. Today, we're just going to be talking about streamlining your workflow using shortcuts and hotkeys, starting from the absolute basics. So let's jump into Logic Pro X. This is beautiful Logic. Firstly, off the bat, the quick and easy ones, which you can actually quite easily see in most of these hotkeys. You can work out almost for yourself if you go up to the top and click this little question mark button here. This will tell you a lot, and it's definitely worth in the beginning clicking that and looking around. You can see there, even if you just actually highlight or just hold your mouse over something, it will tell you this is the mixer, X is the hotkey, this is the smart controls, B is the hotkey, this is your editor, E is the hotkey. It says it in the help, it says it if you stand over it, even just play, record. Just about everything has a hotkey, and if it doesn't, you can actually go in and program it as a hotkey, which is amazing. So firstly, let's start with some of the basic ones. As we've already just said, E is for editor. This is where if you click on your instrument, you can edit the piano roll and work on whatever it is you're working on. Another important one while we're in the piano roll is automations. If I click A, it gets this screen up. It's where I can do my expression, my velocity changes, all those little bits and bobs. And this also works. If I click A again, it gets rid of it. E to get rid of that. A also works in here, so you can see everything within there and all the automations if you're zoomed in enough. Of course, X is for your mixer. This gets really important with mixing and mastering and just generally checking your levels and what's on everything. B gets the control panel up for the instrument, but generally especially if it's not a Logic one, I'll go into this specific piece of software and click on that. I'm sure there's a quicker way. Clicking it again gets rid of it. Space is play and pause. R is record. And that's the basic ones. Another one, Command B, bounces the project down so you don't have to go file, bounce. Make sure you got the right things highlighted. But let's jump in and look at some more technical stuff. So if I just get off the automations, right click, create MIDI region, and go into a MIDI region by clicking E. So you can see now I'm in this area. I'm also going to select A, automations, while I'm in here. And let's create some notes. Now, a quick and easy way of doing this is pressing Command and then clicking. This will create notes wherever you click. But maybe you don't want the note to be there, so you can press Option and up and down to move it around. Instead of going in with your mouse and trying to drag it and get the little bit, it can be a bit difficult and straining on your wrist, which is why it's important to get these hotkeys down, and if I'm honest, to get an ergonomic mouse as well, because they can be extremely handy. The trackpad's great and all, but in the beginning I swore down by them, but I ended up getting strained wrists, and I found, especially if I've got a good mouse, you can work a lot more efficiently. Personally, I use the Mix Master 3, which is this bad boy. What I like about it, horizontal scrolling, your normal scrolling, and you have side buttons as well. Those are extremely important because I've programmed them. The shortcut we just did, which was Option up and down on the keyboard, I've done my side buttons, the up and down, move my notes up and down. So I don't even have to do that. I can just go click there, or even with my arrow keys, flick between, I want that there, flick between that one, and work through that way for more efficiency. And of course, I mentioned horizontal scrolling, so you can do this. And so you can do this with the other one. And so you're not constantly having to drag things around or do other bits and bobs. I believe if you don't have horizontal scrolling, if you press Shift it will turn your normal scroll wheel into a horizontal scroll wheel. And now if I'd release that, it's back to normal. Now I'm using my horizontal scroller and it's scrolling that way. But I just like having everything on my mouse there, splitting it almost evenly between. So what other shortcuts can be handy? So let's look at these notes themselves. So if I highlight everything, and you can probably see that I was actually doing another shortcut. See, they're so automatic, so built into me. I should be shouting out what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Is Option and horizontal scrolling will zoom in horizontally. And then vice versa. If I press Option and use the normal, it will scroll in vertically. And that also works, if we get rid of that for a second, in here as well. So clicking Option, horizontal scrolling, Option, vertical scrolling. Very handy. So let's go back in and you can see the automations are still there, even though I didn't close them on the way out. If I close them on the way out, they wouldn't be there. So it kind of saves what you're doing as you're going. But let's work on some velocity. So let's select velocity within here. And so right now we've got all this even temper. How do I change velocities? Well, you can click on it and then click over here, or you can do a handy little shortcut. Control, Command, hold it down, hover your mouse over something, and then select it and drag up and down. That will change your velocity. And if we highlight everything, you can do something the same there, vice versa instead. And you'll notice that all the velocities move equally. But maybe I want to exaggerate my dynamics instead. So if I go down here, I'm not clicking anything. I'm just using the mouse now and drag everything that's highlighted up and down. You notice they'll get close together, they get further apart. So two different ways to work your velocity to there. That could be very handy. Maybe if I want to do some expression changes. So if I click on here and I just click to create a line, of course, then you click here to move it about. But maybe I want a bit more of a curve. Now, when we click T, we come up with all our different tools, from the erase tool, the pencil tool, quantizing tool, velocity tools, so many different tools to work with, and there are zoom tools, etc. But you'll notice next to each tool is a hotkey. T is your pointer tool. But if I go TW, I can get this nice little curve tool, TW being the automated curve tool. And then I can set a nice little curve here. Nice quick one, then TT to get my normal tool back. So we've got a lovely little curve. Now, other little handy tools, let's move away from the editor and just the general stuff. I've set my middle button to cut. So if I hit my middle button, it will split this in half. Otherwise, you have to click T and go scissor tool, which I believe is I, and then hit there. Of course, I've done a shortcut on my mouse to make things more efficient. TT again. To get my general tool back up. Now, say I want to copy and paste this, you can go Command C and then click somewhere and go Command V. The exact same works within it itself. If I press Command C, Command V, it works within there as well. But an easier and quicker way of doing that, if I click these two notes and press Option and drag, it will copy and paste it. The same works outside here. Click Option and drag, and it will copy and paste that. And a little something, if you didn't know, if you go on the edge and press Option, and say you had just a staccato pattern, or very similar to actually that, but I want it slower, maybe a bar slower. So let's just make that a full bar for a start, and just copy and paste that using Option and drag. But I want it to be half the speed. If I click Option, hang on the edge there, I can shrink that pattern. If I want it longer, I select Option again, drag it out, and voila. Very, very handy little tool there. And you can quickly make accompaniments, arpeggios, etc. a much longer, shorter, create triplets, doing that sort of thing. We have our usual M for mute as well, and S to solo. Again, handy tools, especially if you just want to listen to the violin within your orchestra, just hit S and that will solo that individual part that you have selected. So those are the hotkeys that I commonly use, and I hope this video has helped. I probably haven't mentioned every single one. Actually, for sure, I've definitely not mentioned every single hotkey, but these are the ones that I specifically use that help my workflow. They might not work for your workflow, but I hope some of them have helped and can add to yours, especially if you're a beginner. This video, I feel, is more aimed at those, the more pros out there. Maybe you've learned something new, probably not. But put down in the comments if you've got any hotkeys that you like to use that might help my workflow from what you've actually seen of it within this video. If there's one thing I could leave with you before I close this video is get a good mouse. Get an economical mouse, splash out just a little bit. If you're going to splash out on anything, it's a mouse, something that's comfortable, something you can use for a while, because it really does become a tool side by side with your keyboard that can increase the efficiency of your workflow. A mouse that has both horizontal and vertical scrolling, a mouse that has buttons that you can specifically program to hotkeys that you use the absolute most. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.